good? We good. Hello and welcome to the Monday, August 17th edition of the TV on Basketball podcast with your host, TV. The playoffs are tonight, and I am super excited to be watching the playoff games, to be just seeing just intense NBA basketball. And today I'm going to be here talking about each series and just breaking it down to see what are the biggest questions that I have. And for my guests as well, we have Critical Condition Sports back here. We have Joe, and we're going to be discussing our biggest questions for each of these series. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Very excited to be back. Thanks for having me on. I'm ready to talk basketball.
Yeah. How excited are you for the NBA playoff starting today?
I'm pumped, man. It's just a very, very exciting time. We've been waiting for this. The playoffs were supposed to happen in April, and then, stuff happened in the world, to say it like that. And now it is August, and the playoffs are rolling. Better late than ever. I'm ready for the intensity, man, that it comes with.
Yeah. The intensity is definitely building up, especially with that play-in game on Saturday, that huge game with the Trailblazers, and that happened on Thursday as well. So yeah, everyone's in the playoff mood, and we're excited to get into this. But before we get into these topics, remember to please follow TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for updates on the podcast and for other content. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to show your support and all that good stuff. And if you're listening to this on the good old podcast networks like Apple Podcasts, remember to leave a 5-star review, subscribe, share with your friends. If you're on Podbean, remember to please follow and like as well. And remember, we're on Spotify and Anchor as well. All those links can be found in my link tree, which can be found in my bio. And also in my bio would be the links to Joe's channel and all that good stuff. And yeah, we just recorded a good episode on his YouTube channel, which you should check out when he put that up. He'll definitely update on you. So follow him on Instagram and stuff like that to get updated on that. So Joe, you ready to talk some NBA basketball?
Let's go.
Okay, let's get right into this. And basically the format of this is that we're going to do one East series and one West series, and then we're just going to continue with that till we get through all the series. And we're just going to present our biggest question that we have for each of these series. I got the East side of things. Joe is on the West. He's an OKC fan. I'm a Raptor fan. It only makes sense. So let's get right into this. The first series that we're going to be discussing is the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Orlando Magic, the 1/8 matchup in the Eastern Conference. And my biggest question going into the series is that, will this warm-up series be enough of a confidence booster for the Bucks supporting cast? Because, the Magic here, they will put no resistance on the Bucks here. I look at their roster up and down, seeing, is there anything here that the Orlando Magic have any slight advantage over on the Bucks? Nothing. I see absolutely nothing where the Magic have any sort of advantage. And I see this as a good opportunity, not just for Giannis to kind of get things going. I mean, he's been kind of in and out the lineup because of rest. And then for the final game of the season, he got suspended because of that headbutt. And I just think it's a good opportunity for him to kind of get his game going, but also for the supporting cast, because that has been one of the bigger questions going into the playoffs. Like, Giannis is going to be double teamed a lot. He's going to have a lot of attention on him. Will his other guys step up? And you have people like Chris Middleton, a good player, probably his best season yet. And you have these good players who play in the regular season, like Brook Lopez, Dante DiVincenzo. Can they translate this into good winning playoff basketball? And I think against the Magic, there's not a lot of resistance there. I think that this could be a good chance for them to shine. And I think that this could be a good confidence booster, but we're not sure, because maybe Giannis might have to really dominate again. But I think this should be a good time for the East champs, the Milwaukee Bucks, to just at least try to get their other guys going. What do you think, Joe?
I agree with you on that. It's a nice tune-up game for them at least. Giannis is gonna be Giannis. He's gonna dominate. He's gonna dominate the rim. He's gonna dominate the game there. It's gonna be all Giannis. I feel like you make a great point when it comes to, will this really increase the morale around the team? Because to me, Chris Middleton is the player that, in my opinion, is facing a lot of pressure, man, and going into these playoffs. And we've all talked about, Giannis doesn't have any help. Well, Chris Middleton's the second player there, man. So I mean, I'm not going to pretend like he doesn't hear that stuff,
Yeah.
So I feel like Chris Middleton's under a lot of pressure. I feel like he needs to build confidence. Obviously, we know that Chris Middleton's a solid player. He's a former All-Star. And I'm just going to be, that's the guy that I'm keen on right now is Middleton, to see how he does and the way he steps up.
Yeah, because it's not like some of like the other like bigger teams in like the last few years, especially when you look at championship contenders. Like when you look at the second guy of a team, like just to like list a few. I mean, when you look at the Warriors the last few years, like the second guy was either Steph or KD. Like
Yeah,
that is a huge difference from Chris Middleton. Even if you look back on the Cavaliers winning the championship, it was Kyrie Irving who was a like a top 5 point guard up there.
exactly.
Yeah, if you look at like even like if you go further back to the San Antonio Spurs back in 2014, I mean they had like Hall of Famers, Tim Duncan, they had a young and upping Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, who has been like a very consistent number 2 back in the day. Like Middleton, it just feels like he just doesn't belong in that type of class. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a different sort of
It's a very
number
big
2
drop
option.
off.
Yeah, it's definitely a big drop off. And seeing them, face the Raptors last year in the conference finals, I mean, Chris Middleton had his moments for sure, but he wasn't that consistent number 2 that the Bucks really needed. And this is why like there's a lot of speculation around, Giannis, is he going to leave? I mean, does he believe that this talent around him will be able to win a championship? And I think a lot of that has to do with like, is Chris Middleton the right number 2 for him? I mean, they invested a lot of money on him. They gave him the max contract. They definitely believe in him, and I think that he is a great complementary player with Giannis. But is he that number 2 option? He's going to have to prove it in his playoffs, and I think that this Magic series could be a good, indication to see like where he is in that, in his progression there. Anything else, Joe? Like about this series?
None of this one. Again, it's an open and shut door. I have Milwaukee winning this in 4. Do you have them winning in 4? Correct?
Yeah,
Oh,
very much so. Yeah, I mean, like, and I don't know if you have anything about the Magic, but it just feels like Vucevic is there. I think that
I feel like they're
going to
just
be
going
a
in there to
struggle
get
all around.
slaughtered, man. Hey, but they got home court advantage.
They're the only team with home court advantage.
They got home court advantage
every single game. And yeah, it's just like I mean, it's been rough for the Magic. Obviously, I mean, Jonathan Isaac being injured and all that. And last year they were able to take a game off the Raptors. People maybe forgot about that. DJ Augustine had that game winner
in game
there
1.
In game 1 for sure. But there's nothing about this Magic team. Like they tell me if I'm wrong, but they have shown like no progression over the last few years. I just feel like they just haven't gotten any better.
It's the kind of series where you really hate to say it, man, but I would just skip over it. And get them ready for the next one. But again, it's a great tune-up game for the Bucks, and it should be able to build confidence. I know that's the point.
Yeah.
That was a point of your question is can they really build off that? And I mean, we'll see. I don't think that there's anything that can slow down Giannis's arsenal, except maybe him having just an off night.
Yeah, it's a rough matchup for the Magic, and they've had a really bad bubble in general. I mean, going 3-5, they had that 5-game losing streak like in the middle of that whole stuff. Like it's been a rough bubble, losing Jonathan Isaac as well. So rough time for them. I mean, but I think the Bucks are going to easily dominate.
All right.
Let's move on to the first West series. So Joe, what is your first big question?
So for the Lakers versus Blazers series, to me, and it's something that the media, I guess, is hyping this up to me, but to me, it's how far can LeBron go? How far can LeBron take this team? Because again, I mean, this is a team that, don't have a lot of shooters, to me, in my opinion. Danny Green, at least from my perspective, has been a liability. Kuzma is your third player. You do not know if he's going to show up. He made a crazy 3-pointer against the Nuggets, but the Nuggets didn't play the starters in the fourth. So I mean, that's what it takes. Awesome. So there's question marks around this Laker team. Now, again, the trust goes back to LeBron, because if you take LeBron James out of this team and leave Anthony Davis, then it's just another version of the Pelicans. So when I think about LeBron James, obviously to me he's the greatest basketball player on the planet right now. I'm going to go ahead and stick to that. No, I'm not a LeBron fan, but I'm sticking to that right now. And that is that I feel like LeBron can overcome certain situations that not a lot of players can. That's why he gets paid the way he gets paid. That's why he's built this empire. That's why he was the chosen one, because he can do things that many people cannot do. And the biggest question, again, it's how far can LeBron go? This Laker team, without him, it's nothing. And when LeBron leaves the court, I mean, they can't get shots in. And to me, that's the most concerning part. But it is LeBron James. I solely have this team advancing just because of the fact that LeBron James has never lost in the first round. Plus, playoff
Yeah,
LeBron's a different animal. But a lot of the media,
exactly.
and to me, it's very shocking that a lot of people are just going so crazy. I've heard some respectable people say that the Blazers are going to beat the Lakers in the series, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's I think
I
they
know
need
it's a bit
to really
overboard. It's
check
a bit
themselves.
overboard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. The Blazers are a great team. It's a great story. Stories are
yeah,
great. Media plays off great stories, but let's go back to the real world, and that's what we do here. And the Lakers will win this series, whether it's 5, 6 games. There's no way
yeah.
LeBron's gonna get bounced.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think like with this series, like I do like your question. I mean, like how far can this team go? I mean, like I've talked about in the past, like compared to past LeBron teams, like if you just look at the third option, like he's had Chris Bosh in his past, a future Hall of Famer. He's had Kevin Love in his past, another future Hall of Famer. And when you go down to Kyle Kuzma, who hasn't even made the playoffs before, people do forget about this. Like this is his first time in the playoffs and stuff like that. So it's gonna
It's gonna
be
be a
like
different feel for this
it's
team.
definitely especially for like a lot of their players. And what I like about at least the series for their supporting cast is that the Blazers don't play any defense. They do not play any defense whatsoever. So I think someone like Kyle Kuzma could have a chance to average a near 20 point series and stuff like that, just because um the Blazers are going to put a lot of emphasis on LeBron, even though they don't have the best defenders. I mean, I don't think anyone on that team can really guard the LeBron.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if this is like a 1 game thing, if it's a 1 game playoff series, like it's just a one-on-one and done. I
Yeah,
mean, it'd be a different story. But again, this is
yeah.
7 games, man. You
This is
make
yeah,
adjustments on this thing. The Blazers
yeah.
can take game one, great, but you
Yeah,
still got to beat them another 3 times.
yeah, exactly. And when you have like, and especially when you have no one being able to guard their best guy, I mean, like, who's there? Carmelo,
Melo, I
a
don't think Melo can do it either.
34-year-old Melo, and yeah,
Zach
nothing.
Collins.
Yeah, Zach Collins, Gary Trent, like none of these guys are like defensive players. And their best defensive player there, on their roster, Trevor Ariza, is not even going to be there because of the whole like court complication with his like child and all that. So
So
they
he's
just,
out.
yeah. So it's just like they're not going to have any answer for them. And kind of like the Buck series, I see kind of like Kyle Kuzma develop that confidence because there's not going to be a lot of attention put onto him, and I think that this is his chance to, especially in the first round of a playoff series where the intensity goes from here all the way to here. Like the intensity like builds up so quickly when you enter playoff action, and it's gonna hit Kyle
Exactly.
Kuzma like a ton of bricks. It's gonna definitely hit a young guy like him, like that. So this could be a good growing moment, but out of like as like a first playoff opponent, I think it's good for Kyle Kuzma to go up against the Trailblazers. But I mean, like you said, the Blazers are getting a lot of praise from the media and stuff like that. I think, are they actually going to take down the Lakers? I mean, what are your thoughts on their run? And like, do you give them like even like a minimal chance against these Lakers?
It's been a great run. Again, the media likes to play off great stories. Again, Dame Lillard, small college guy.
Yeah,
I heard that Dame actually, I believe, I don't know if it was a sophomore or junior in high school. He got admitted, he got an offer from Weber State. And then I guess his senior year, after he
yeah,
balled, he got plenty of other offers from different universities. And he said, no,
yeah.
I'm
These
loyal
guys
to the
believed in
first
me. Yeah,
team. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So Dame's all about loyalty, respect Dame,
yeah,
fantastic player, man. Clutch, 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 clutch guy, man.
yeah.
I know all about
He's
that
done
clutch
it.
from my Oklahoma City Thunder last year.
Oh my
And
god.
again,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised that the Blazers take game one. That's
yeah.
how I see this thing playing off. And the media is gonna just go crazy, man. Just crazy,
I
crazy.
definitely could see that
And
happening.
is
Like we've
this it
seen
for
this happen.
LeBron James? Is it over? He's done. Blazers are
Yeah,
gonna come in and win this, and then LeBron's gonna come back, dialed in, focus, and he's gonna
yeah,
lead the cavalry through them and win this. Now, is there a small chance? I mean, absolutely. There's a 0.01%
yeah,
chance for sure,
yeah,
but again, LeBron James, that top five in defense versus a team that plays no defense. I
yeah.
mean, we talked about this earlier with just the games, like they allowed over 100 points, over 100, and was it more than 110, 115
30.
points to the Nets?
Yeah, yeah. 134.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And they can't play defense. And I think the biggest thing, especially when it comes to the playoffs, is you gotta get someone to go head to head with the team's best player. And I don't think there's a single person that can dial up Again, the Blazers, great story. Carmelo Anthony, great. Again, great adding to that great story. I'm very happy for him. But unfortunately for the Blazers, this Cinderella story is not gonna come. Is not gonna have a happy ending.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of things going their way for them to even have a chance. I mean, like you said, one of the best defenses in the league that the Lakers have, and what the Blazers are gonna have to do to even have a chance is just to like make sure that they keep the game close late, so Damian Lillard can have a chance to hit that big shot at the end. And the fact that they're not gonna be able to stop the Lakers as well, it's just gonna be tough all the way around. And as much as the Blazers, like obviously, is like everyone's darling team, everyone wants to see them succeed. It's like you said, LeBron playoff mode is a completely different monster, and I think that once he
Exactly.
realizes like, oh wait, the Blazers, these guys have Damian Lillard and all that, he's gonna turn up and he's gonna, do his thing. So yeah, that's gonna be a very like one of the more fun series I think is gonna be able to watch in the bubble right now. But like we said, like it's just the Lakers are just gonna like really are just a completely different animal when it comes to the playoffs. So any last thoughts on the series?
No.
No. Okay. So we're going to move on to the second E series, and we're going to be looking at the 2-7 matchup between my Toronto Raptors, where I'm repping their OVO jersey right now, showing up some love to Mr. Kyle Lowry. And they're facing against the Brooklyn Nets, who are the 7th seed, who, have surprised a lot of people in this bubble, going 5-3, obviously taking the Blazers to the limit in that final game of the season. And my big question for this is that will the Toronto Raptors finally sweep a team? Honestly, that's just like my biggest question, because every year it seems like the Toronto Raptors, like even against no matter what team, they always feel like they're just gonna give away one game. The team is just gonna catch them slipping, and they're gonna like give up a game. And I just think that in this series, I mean, I think like this is like a lot more. It might be a bit more competitive than the Magic series from last year. What really convinced me that the Nets might be a better matchup is because they play hard. They're playing for a coach who is not even really their coach. It's their interim coach till the end of the season, Jock Vaughn, and he's playing for a job. He wants to become the Nets head coach going further. So I think that this is low key going to be an interesting matchup, and this is going to be a battle of two teams who just both play hard. They just both are going to play hard. The Nets are going to have to play hard because of their lack of talent. Obviously, no KD, no Kyrie, no DeAndre Jordan, no Spencer Dinwiddie. I can go on and on. Like half of their roster is
Yeah,
basically
absolutely.
half their roster is gone. And for the Raptors, I mean, these guys are defending champions. They have that championship mentality that you've seen that they like exhibited throughout this entire season that led them to becoming the second seed. And I think that the Raptors are going to be super focused coming to the series, and they're not going to take the Nets lightly. Maybe the Nets are going to catch them slipping one game, but that's the most I'm going to give them. So, I really hope that the Raptors finally get the first sweep in franchise history. But um, I think like this series against the Nets is actually going to be a lot more interesting than a lot of people think. Your thoughts on the series, Joe?
TV, I'm going to tell you that your Raptors will get that first sweep in franchise
I
history.
really hope so. I really hope so.
Nick Nurse is again. A lot of people are saying this that Nick Nurse is the best in-game coach there is in basketball right now. Of course, he's a top five, top three coach. I would say
Yeah,
personally,
yeah,
top five easily, but personally, I would put
yeah,
him in the top three. This guy's
yeah.
fantastic. What he's able to do, and I am going to give the Toronto Raptors credit because change is very hard, and to be able
Mm-hmm.
to move on and to build different habits, it's very scary for a lot of people. So when they
Yeah.
moved off Dwayne Casey, it was a real big thing because at the time, Toronto had was already winning 50 games. you
He was
know
coach of the year that year.
exactly. And for him, they moved off them when that LeBron thing happened to him.
Yeah,
LeBron James got a couple people fired, but
exactly.
exactly,
Oh,
but
don't
I
even.
give him credit because again, Nick Nurse coming in, it was this young coach. Not a lot of people knew about him, and that I guess young mentality, from him when it came down to the philosophy that he brought into the game, and he really just slowed
Yeah,
down and make sure the fundamentals of the game was working with the Toronto Raptors. That's what I saw on my end, and it's been fantastic to see this team. Again, you lose Kawhi Leonard off a
yeah,
championship season, and the expectation was a little bit was lower, for them.
definitely, definitely. Yeah,
And just the way he's able to get production out of Lowry and Van Fleet has been really
yeah,
impressive for me. He's got a good group of veteran guys as well. And I mean, the Toronto Raptors play some real defense, man.
Yeah,
And
they
I
do.
think when you're going into a series against the Nets, that Karis LeVert and Joe Harris are your threats in there. I feel
Yeah,
like this guy's gonna scheme well and he's able to slow down, if not one, but both of these guys for sure.
yeah,
And I see this ending in 4, regardless of how
yeah,
close the games are. I have the
yeah,
Toronto Raptors getting that your sweep for you.
yeah. I really hope you're right. But like you said, I mean, like they have they do have these like defensive strategies that just seem to work against these teams. And what I love about Nick Nurse and like why a lot of fans like I think around the league now that the bubble is being shown like how good he is as coaching is that he's not afraid to try things. He's not afraid to like
Definitely.
just like to throw out like the most random zones. Like he'll like he'll switch up the matchups. Like he doesn't care. He doesn't get stuck in his ways, and that's why I think a lot of people do appreciate him as a head coach.
Exactly.
The Raptors have faced up against like some like big players in the playoffs in the past. Just look at last year in the playoffs. They had to deal with Joel Embiid. Next series, they had to deal with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Next series, they had to deal with Stephen Curry. Where if you don't, if you remember, they had to do the box and one where they were playing a 2-2 zone, and Red Van Vliet was just chasing Steph Curry around the court the entire series.
And he didn't
And
let he didn't let off him.
he just didn't allow to off them. I mean, the Raptors will just stick on you like white on rice. And against this Nets, I'm sorry, they just don't have the type of talent that um of like a 76ers, Bucks, Warriors of last year. They just do not have that. And usually, like when you look at the Nets, and like you would say like, oh, these guys are going to be a hardworking team. Maybe they might just out work the Raptors. But the thing about the Raptors is that they're always locked in. They're not the type of team where they're going to be like, okay, we
Never
have
take
more
anyone
talent.
lightly.
They do not take anyone
Definitely.
lightly, 100%. And this is why, like, and I was listening to this like on I think it was a show earlier today. Like, I think the Brooklyn Nets would have been better off facing the Bucks because the Bucks have been struggling, and I think the Nets, who like will have nothing to lose. Let's be honest, the Nets have nothing to lose being here. They're focused on next year. They want to get KD, Kyrie, the rest of the
The
roster
band back
healthy, and
together. Yeah.
yeah, the band back together basically. So they have nothing to lose. And when you go up against a struggling team like the Bucks, maybe you can catch them out one game. But with the Raptors, they're always going to be focused. They're always going to have that.
There's
They
no
had the
cockiness.
continuity. Yeah, they just have it exactly. And I think that if any year is the year to win to finally get the sweep, I really hope it's this year because and like you said, the Raptors are super deep. No one really talks about their like bench highly enough. Terrence Davis being a great player that he is this year. Norman Powell, Chris Boucher coming off the bench. Matt Thomas, who could be that secret weapon for them this playoff series. Like I could just go on and on. And with this Raptors team, like I just think like it's gonna be an easy first round series, but also they're gonna have to keep their A game here. So yeah, I like in terms of the question, will they sweep them? In my opinion, I think they might lead up one game. I'm not going to see it until I believe it. That's my type of thing with these Toronto Raptors. But Joe is fully believing that they're going to be able to get the sweep
I do.
going. Yeah. So any last thoughts on this Raptors Nets series?
No, we hit all the points on that one.
All right. Perfect. So Joe, what is your next question for the next series?
So Clippers versus Mavs. Plain and simple. Will the real Clippers please stand up?
Yeah.
Because of the fact that these guys, man, they've beaten the Lakers and then they lose to the Bulls.
Yeah.
They lost to the Suns, in dramatic fashion, in the bubble. And a lot of people are saying that, they're not worried about the regular season and
Yeah.
the playoffs what
Yeah.
matters. Cool, I get it, but at some point, this stuff is gonna catch up to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because
I agree with that.
chemistry, I feel like again, playoff basketball is different. Chemistry matters, especially when you're going through like 7 game series. Chemistry, trust, real big thing. That's my concerning part with this. Yes, I know that the Clippers, once everyone's fully healthy, 13, 14 and 0. I no 14 and 1 better because I know they lost that
Yeah.
game to one of those games to the Lakers. The thing for
Yeah.
me though is the fact that they're only all healthy for 14, 15 games, I mean, because
Exactly. Exactly.
before, man, we had basketball before, and that's the concerning part in this for me. So will the real Clippers please stand up?
Oh
That's
yeah.
for me. I'm very scared of this Mavs matchup. The Clippers are the team that I picked to win this game, this entire thing. So we will see.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I've definitely talked about this in the past that I don't know like about you, but when you watch this like Clippers team, don't they just come off like as a little bit arrogant? Like it just feels like that.
It
Like
is, man, and that's a very big thing for me on why I'm scared. I'm telling you, like,
yeah,
and we talked about this earlier. Like the Mavs, they're young. It's the first playoff series. It's the first taste
with
that
Luca,
Luca
yeah,
gets. But man, if you go in there and again, Doc is a veteran head coach. He knows what he's doing. But man,
yeah,
he's also had some woos in the playoffs,
oh yeah,
and it really just questions because what version of the Clippers are you going to get going into the series?
yeah. And they can't all have to get let off the gas pedal because Luka Doncic has been absolutely out of this world this year. No one thought that he was going to take this type of jump. He is one of my favorite players just to watch in this league just because of how silky smooth his game is. And with Kristaps Porzingis playing as well as he is in this bubble, like averaging almost 30 points a game, that's just how good he's playing. And like just having those two offensive threats, like the Clippers are gonna have to bring their A game on the defensive end, which I believe they could do. But like you said, only 15 games together, and I like to drive that point to the ground. And why I have a lot of concern about this team because they talk a big game. They have the big talkers and Patrick Beverly, Paul George. We know Kawhi's not going to talk. He's not going to say anything in terms of like trash talking or anything. He's just going to do his job.
Exactly.
But when you have like even Lou Williams does a lot of trash talking, Trez Harrell does a lot of like that trash talking. Like they probably look at their roster and they're like, man, we have some of the best defenders in the league. Like it's gonna be tough. Let's be honest. It's gonna be extremely tough for Doncic to have to deal with Beverly, George, and Kawhi Leonard. That is gonna be a tough first like playoff
I,
series
I do
for
agree with you. But what I like about the Mavs when I give them a shot to
yeah.
be able to win, maybe not. I think okay. So when we're talking about who's got a shot to pull off an upset in a series, I feel like this could be one of those, man. Just because of the fact that you know it's going to be a lot on Luca's plate. But what I like about Mavs, they can shoot, man. They can win
They
shootouts with
can.
you. If it's just a straight up, you're shooting, I'm shooting, they can win.
Yeah.
And I'm giving them credit to be able to win one
Yeah.
or even two of those games like that. I mean, Seth Curry can shoot too as well,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
a guy that nobody talks about, because of the real
Yeah. Exactly.
the
Yeah.
other
The real
Curry,
Curry.
the
Yeah.
real not the real one, but the other Curry,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what really scares me about this Mavs team. They can put this game out of reach for you early, and
Yeah.
now can they hold the lead? We'll see. It's a very young team. I have the Clippers winning without a doubt, but
Yeah.
that question for me is just should just tell you how I feel about this team.
Yeah. And I think like what a point I want to bring up and what I think a lot of people are not talking about is the Mavericks are like on the level of the Blazers in the sense where they just both cannot play defense whatsoever.
At all.
Like they have like the fact that the Clippers have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard that they have to deal with, and they don't have like that like number one guy that they can just say go on this guy, go on
Go
that
on there
guy.
and shut them.
You just shut him down. They just can't do it. I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith can do his very best, and he always does, but it's going to be extremely overwhelming for him to deal with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, even Will Williams at times. Like they have so many scoring options. I think it's just going to completely overwhelm the Mavericks, especially in their first playoff series with this young core. But I mean, like I completely agree with you in the sense that maybe the Clippers are just going to slip up. They're just going to underestimate this team, and they're just going to I can see Doncic having some massive games in this series if the Clippers just don't put their foot on the gas pedal, which is like one of my serious concerns with them going deep into this playoffs. But yeah, the Clippers are gonna like really, I think can like use this chance to like assert their dominance. But like you said, 15 games together, that's not a lot. That's not a lot
Not a
whatsoever.
lot.
Yeah, so I mean they do have a lot of advantages against this team, but it's still gonna be like absolutely like it's gonna be a tough series nonetheless, especially doing with a player like Luka. So yeah, any other thoughts on this series?
No, I have the Clippers winning it in 6.
6 games, nice. If I have them probably winning it around 5 or 6. If you want to see my actual predictions, obviously check out his channel. But yeah,
Exactly.
it's
We'll
gonna
be
be
talking about that.
yeah, we're gonna be talking about those as well. But yeah, I think it's gonna be like a really good series. It's gonna be really fun, especially seeing Luka Doncic come in this playoff series. Same thing with Kristaps Porzingis, and I think this is just gonna be in general just like a good learning experience for these Mavericks because they're going to be in the playoffs for a long time, especially with that core of Luka and Porzingis. And I think this is just going to be like the first small step into them actually like becoming that
Yeah.
true like dynasty that we hope so. Okay, we're going to move on to the next E series, and we have the 3-6 matchup between the Boston Celtics in these Philadelphia 76ers. And this is an extremely interesting series because the 76ers, this has been an absolutely disastrous season for them, to say the very least. Ben Simmons being injured. I mean, we're not 100% sure if he's going to make it to the playoffs, and if that's the case, that's probably going to be in the second round. But there's just the 76ers has had just a rough season. Obviously, Embiid is not fully healthy at this moment, and the Celtics are looking like a really good team. So my question going into this series is, can Joel Embiid be all-time great enough to even give the 76ers a chance? Because I think like the only way for the 76ers to even like win this game is to take advantage of that center matchup with Joel Embiid against either Tice or Cantor. And I've preached about the Celtics the whole year. I love their roster as a whole. They are top 5 defense, top 5 offense. They are a fantastic team. But that center position, Daniel Tice, he's done his best. He's done what he can. And Cantor can give you buckets off the bench. But they just do not have that interior presence to deal with someone like a Joel Embiid, especially in the East when you have someone like Joel Embiid. Even if they make it to the next round, like people like Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, like do they have the guys to go up against them? And that is a big concern. And back to my question, Joel Embiid, is it going to be enough? I mean, he's going to have all the opportunities in the world. I mean, we always people always talk about, is this team better without Ben Simmons, without Embiid, and stuff like that? And they definitely have the advantage on the inside here with not just Embiid. Al Horford is on that team, the former Boston Celtic, which is pretty weird because Al Horford was defending Embiid in those old playoff series when they were facing off against each other, the Celtics and the 76ers. But with the 76ers being as depleted as they are, they're going to need Embiid to be not just a superstar. He's going to need to be like Hall of Fame type grade for them to even have a chance. And against the Celtics team, who, like I said, is a top 5 defense as well, I think it's going to be absolutely rough. And you'll see my prediction on the other channel. I just don't think that, I just think the Celtics shot creators are just going to overwhelm the 76ers. Joe, what are your thoughts on the series?
I'm going to put a very strong emphasis that Boston needs to get this done fast.
Yeah.
They need to get this done fast. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because this is the team that I've talked about, and I believe it or not, man, this is the team that I've gotten the absolute most pushback from other people. Just because of the fact that I'm saying that Boston's going to go to the East, that I believe so strongly on this team that I'll take Boston over Milwaukee hands down. And I'm telling you, this is the one thing people message me every single time Boston loses, man. Now, in the bubble, seriously on this. So for me, I believe that Boston is just head and shoulders the better team here, without a doubt. They got shooters. That center position, I agree with you, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not scared of Joel Embiid just because of the fact that I respect the game. I do. But I don't respect the work ethic, man, that I've seen from the guy. Plenty of other teams. And, man, if you're not if your work ethic isn't there and, he's not a perfect player all around and you're not trying to get better consistently, this is where you struggle. At this particular point, maybe not round 1, but once you start getting to round 2 or round 3, those issues or that lack of work that you put in there, says it all right there. And I don't know Joel Embiid, obviously, but I'm just saying, from the things that we've seen, things caught on camera, whether it was, eating a Chick-fil-A sandwich, getting a foot rub or a massage on the bench, it's just, it makes me really question that. And for me, Boston, they just need to get this thing done as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because there's bigger challenges lurking later on.
Yeah, they did, definitely. And with Joel Embiid, I mean, conditioning has definitely been a talking point in his career, where people say, he does. And, the whole motivation factor as well, because when you look at the whole Simmons, Joel, Embiid, narrative, over the past years, sometimes, because Ben Simmons needs so much space in the paint, they kind of result Embiid into becoming just a corner jump shooter, which is not his game whatsoever. And
exactly.
I think so he's kind of it's kind of been up and down for him in his career for sure. I mean, he's bar the injuries, you can argue that he is the best center in the league. And that's why I kind of think that, if he wants to make his noise felt, it has to be in the series, because you're not going to get much more easier chances than getting buckets inside than on Daniel Tice and Enes Kanter in the East. I mean, just look at the other top teams. I mean, we already know his struggles that he has with Marc Gasol and the Toronto Raptors. Exactly. Brook Lopez is one of the better interior defenders in the league as well. So if anything, like if you really want to like assert your presence and actually get a chance for them to win this, they're gonna need to do it inside. And the 76ers, I mean, I don't know about you, I don't trust like a lot of those like extra pieces. I mean, Tobias Harris getting that max contract, he has not performed up to that level whatsoever
At all.
at all.
At all.
And then you have people like Al Horford, who is disappointed this season. I don't think it's because of him as a player. It's just I just don't think the fit works, and we've talked about it.
Exactly. I don't think he fit to what they were trying to do.
Yeah, and they don't really have enough shooting on that team, so it's definitely going to be a tough series for them.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the funniest part is, man, they had shooters.
They've had shooters.
They had shooters, and then moved them.
Yeah, this has been like the most frustrating thing about the Philadelphia 76ers.
They had shooters.
2 years ago, they actually had a good chance of making the finals when they had Marco Bellinelli, they had Ersan Ilyasova. They had some good shooters on that team, and they couldn't get it done. And you're like, okay, you could build something up here. Bring them back and stuff like that. Nope. They brought back all the non-shooters, and they let those guys walk. Their best shooter last year, J.J. Redick, a massive part of them. I already know how annoying he was against the Raptors in that second round. They let him go. Like, it's very questionable, like, decisions for Philadelphia, and that's why I just think they're just an all-out mess. They want to find different ways for this combination to work, and it just hasn't been working. And now we're in the playoffs. Like, it's not going to change just like that. It's not going to snap at a finger. You need to, like, build up to play good playoff basketball, and I just don't see it. Compared to the Celtics, I mean, they have freaking Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, who can each score, like, 30 points on any given night. They could just take turns doing that. And even people like Marcus Smart, like, he's put up some big games, like in this season. Like, I remember, like, early in the season, he hit 11 threes. Like, the fact that the Celtics have, like, all these type of guys to score on the perimeter, and they do it well. Like, they don't mind, like, deferring to each other. They're like, oh, Jalen's nice? Okay, give him the ball. Is Jason's nice? Give him the ball. Like, I feel like they just have, like, a lot more well-oiled machine down there in Boston. And like you said, like, it's going to they just have that talent, especially without Simmons on that court, to defend any of those, like, good perimeter defenders. It's going to be a tough series for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Right.
Yeah.
So on that note, I have nothing to add on that. I'm just gonna go ahead and move on to the next one. So I got the Nuggets versus the Jazz. My question is it Michael Porter Jr.'s time? Because of the fact that
let's talk Michael Porter Jr.
Because right here, I will give you the props, the credit. I've told you that, man. You nailed it. We were on this show. I was on the show here. It was a couple of weeks back. It was pre-bubble. And you said that Michael Porter Jr. was going to step up and was going to rise. And, I mean, you nailed it on that part, my friend. I give you credit for that.
Yeah.
And now, though, playoff basketball is a different animal, and this is the thing we talked about. And for the longest time, like last year, one of the biggest things was for the Nuggets was, Jokic is your number one guy. Fantastic center. I'd love to have him on my team. And then Jamal Murray is your second guy. So the question is, if Jamal Murray is having such an off night, who else can carry the load for you? Now, I think Denver's got a great squad. I just think that they're young. I believe Paul Millsap's the only player that's over 30.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you need, when we're talking about, you need a number 3 guy. Yeah. Is Michael Porter Jr. going to be that guy? That's my question. I'm just very curious to see how he plays. We talked about how this is going to be, Kuzma's first taste, Luka's first taste, but this to me is a guy that was very heavily underrated. You saw the game, and I'm just very excited because this is going to be his first taste of playoff basketball too with those guys, and I feel like he's in a great situation. I think he's in a great situation to shine more than anything.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on there, and obviously, I do love my prediction is really coming true. Michael Porter Jr. has been absolutely fantastic in this bubble, has made all bubble second team as well. Like, he has definitely shown up. But I want to kind of pump my brakes here because we are putting a lot of pressure on a guy who, one, this is his first full season as a member of the Denver Nuggets. And secondly, this guy, like, has only been added to the starting lineup just recently. Like, I think, like, the way that he's playing, there's no reason for you to put him back on the bench because of, like, how – the extra dynamic he adds to that team. I mean, I don't want to compare him to KD, but he does have KD tendencies. Like, this guy's 6'10". He has like that type of jumper, kind of like a T-Mac, kind of like a KD, where he jumps so high that there's just no way you're gonna block it. It's just like one of those like type of shots. He has like a gifted offensive game. And he's not going to be that much of a liability on the defensive end just because, like I said, 6'10", he has the length, he can get into passing lanes and all that good stuff. But as much as I want him to succeed, that is a lot of pressure to put on such a young guy. And in this series, especially against like it was the Nuggets taking on the Jazz, they're facing a very good defense. It's going to be a very good defensive team, the Jazz, who we know is going to like put the clamps on every single game. And it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be a tough first matchup for Michael Porter Jr. and for just Nuggets in general. But I think with their offense and how good it is, and like I mentioned this on your channel, but Mike Conley has left the bubble to witness the birth of his son. Congratulations to him.
Congrats.
Yeah, and he's probably going to miss the first 2 games of the bubble, so it's just going to make it a lot harder for the Jazz. And like you said, Michael Porter Jr., this is his chance to step up to be that third guy. Whether he could do it or not, we're going to have to wait and see. But this is going to. But I think the Denver Nuggets just offense is going to overwhelm the Jazz at this point. But do you give the Jazz like any sort of chance like in the series?
They can upset them. I feel like they can upset the team for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like it can be competitive. It can go either way. I feel like there is a chance. I feel like there's one of those series that can go either way, man. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is like an absolutely fantastic player here. I mean, Rudy Gobert is one of the better defensive guys in the league. It's just my concern is like, and I've talked about this in the past. It's just the Jazz offense. I mean, and we've talked about this on your channel as well. The Bojan Bogdanovic injury has really helped their offense. That's a big one. He was a 20-point per game scorer, and losing 20 points, I mean, and trying to find it in other players on that team whose roles had to elevate. It's tough. And having like, and now that Conley's gone, I mean, it's going to be the Donovan Mitchell show. Let's be completely honest at this point. It's going to be him. It's going to be Jordan Clarkson trying to develop most of the offense. And is that enough to deal with the Denver Nuggets team who, I mean, they're not the best defensive team in the world, but at least they're like average compared to, we've talked about in the past, like we talked about earlier. The Portland Trailblazers are horrible on the defensive end. The Dallas Mavericks are horrible on the defensive end. At least the Denver Nuggets are average, which is not great, but it's better than what they had. So it's going to be a very interesting series. I just don't think Utah's scoring output is going to be enough. And Denver's is going to is like offensive just power. Like they're an offensive powerhouse, and I think that they're going to definitely get the win in the series here. And people are going to forget Gary Harris is coming back from injury. Will Barnes coming back from injury as well. So they're going to have a full and healthy roster, and it's going to be extremely excited to see how this goes down. But do you think this is like not really pertaining to the playoffs, but would you rather have Michael Porter Jr. as your second option on the team, or would you rather have Jamal Murray? Like, would you like move Jamal Murray as a second option?
I want my point. I want my point guard to be the second guy. I mean, because Jokic undeniably, obviously, is your number one. But I feel like Michael Porter Jr. as your third option. I mean, if that's your third best player, man, I think you're in great hands. But I feel like it's a good rhythm. It's a good rhythm with Jamal there. I feel like there's times where he gets cold, and that's where you need a guy like Michael Porter Jr. who can dominate. You can dominate the rim. Again, 6'10", huge guy, man. Can sink his shots in. The motion is there. I love his release on the shots, and just to have a real dominant. I think more than anything, I want him better on the defensive side of the floor as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And Jamal worry about getting me those buckets. Again, if you have an off night, then obviously him as your third option, you come in there and step up for you. But I'd want him. This guy is such a crazy athlete, man, that I'd want him with Jokic right there protecting the rim and be able to protect the perimeter as well, which is something that these guys can do. And so that's why I would lean towards having Jamal as my second.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think if like Jamal Murray can work on his playmaking skills as well, that would be absolutely massive for the Denver Nuggets. I mean, obviously Jokic is going to be their assist guy on most nights, but if Jamal Murray can improve his playmaking, that would help as well. And the emergence of Michael Porter Jr. could actually just take him to the next level, especially if he can perform in this playoff in the playoffs. So it's going to be an interesting series to watch. Not a lot of people are going to be talking about it, but it's actually going to be the first one, which is going to be happening at 1:30 today. So that's going to be extremely exciting to watch as well. So any other thoughts on the series?
No.
No? Okay, so we're gonna move on to the final series in the East, and we have the Indiana Pacers, the 50, going up against the Miami Heat. And my question going into the series is that is TJ Warren's play going to be able to be sustained throughout an entire series? Because this TJ Warren, this whole Cinderella story with TJ Warren has been great. Let's be honest. It's been a great story,
Yeah.
And everyone has wanted this matchup because everyone knows the rivalry between him and Jimmy Butler. People have been waiting for this for so long. And sure, they played once in the bubble, but that was kind of a disappointing outcome. I mean, the Nets and the Heat absolutely destroyed the Pacers there. But the TJ Warren, will his play be able to continue into the playoffs? Because one, this guy has a foot injury right now, plantar fasciitis. It's the same as Domantas Sabonis, who they are missing in the series as well. Not as severe though, so he'll be ready for the playoffs. But is he going to be able to to have that offensive productivity to replace Sabonis? Because the Heat are a great defensive team. They're going to work you every single minute of the game. And when you have Jimmy Butler chasing you around, it's going to be a tough outing for TJ Warren. And I think that I'm not going to say he's going to get exposed, but I think in a 7-game series, especially when you're facing a team this many times consecutively, they're going to know your little intricacies. You're going to know your little patterns, stuff like that. You just catch on to this type of stuff in series. And I think that the Pacers, especially with their depleted roster, they're going to really miss a bonus in the series for sure with the to match up against Bam Adebayo. And, Victor Oladipo, as well, he is not 100%. And the fact that the Pacers are not 100%, they're not fully healthy. I didn't even talk about Jeremy Lamb, who was their sixth man coming to this year, averaging near over 15 points a game. He tore his ACL back in February. So the Pacers are depleted. The Heat are just look like a more healthier, better roster all around at this very moment. And yeah, I just don't know if TJ Warren's how much we should put into stock and how good he'll do in the playoffs. What are your thoughts on the series, Joe?
I think the TJ Warren hype train will definitely come to a stop in this series. I feel again, in a 7-game series, the teams will be able to focus on the good coaches will be able to key on you. Spoelstra is a solid coach, without a doubt. So he's a great game planner. So I feel like he's gonna really key in on that. Oladipo not being back fully at 100% is really gonna hurt this team. Sabonis injury is the biggest takeaway I'm taking from this series because of the fact that he's a big, and again, you need a guy against a dominant.
He was their only All-Star this year.
Adebayo. Adebayo is solid, and you're gonna need someone to be able to match up well against him. I don't trust Miles Turner. A lot of people say he's soft. That's what I've heard a lot. I agree with them.
He's soft.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I feel like it's going to make this hard. I mean, there's a difference between being a team and playing a good couple of games, but can you actually be that leader to be able to overcome certain situations to carry your team later on with TJ Warren? I am not sure. That's, that's a great question, and we will get the result. We'll get the result hopefully within a week.
Yeah, exactly. And with the Miami Heat, they people are looking at this team, and it's they just have just good players just multiple positions. So we talked about Bam Adebayo. They have their leader in Jimmy Butler, and I know we've talked about in the past, you're not fully you're not fully convinced that Jimmy Butler is the best leader and all that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But at the same time, they have a great all-around roster. They have a bunch nice of young guys. I mean, Duncan Robinson has been absolutely fantastic for them, just being that 3-point shooter. They have good veterans off the bench. I think people forgot that they have Andre Iguodala, who's been to the finals the last few years. Jay Crowder is there as well. They just have a good mix of young and older talent, and they've
none is solid as well.
Yeah, none is solid. Hero off the bench. They just have lots of good options, and I think with the Pacers being so depleted as they are, they're just not gonna be able to handle all of that. And as much as people want this to be a long series, especially because of the whole TJ Warren, Jimmy Butler beef that they have going on, I just think that the Heat at this point have just the much better roster. And I know you have, I don't remember what you had in your video. I think you had it going a bit longer, but I just don't think it's going to be as long as a lot of people think they are. So that's going to be we're talking about that series. And do you have any final thoughts on it?
Not on this one, no.
Okay. So, Joe, you're going to take this away. We're going to talk about this last series. What is your last question?
So the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Houston Rockets. I'm just gonna say, man, this is a very juicy matchup. But my question for this is, who gets revenge? Plain and simple, man.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be Chris Paul, or will it be? I guess. Well, now they're without Rush right now, or will it be the Rockets? We know what happened. We know the backstory. The Rockets traded away Chris Paul, and what really seemed to be, and this was after, obviously they got Russell Westbrook out of that trade, but this was already done after, Paul George was shipped out of town in Oklahoma City. We know the history though. Oklahoma City, 3 straight first round playoff exits. Ever since KD left, it hasn't been the same. You know what I mean? And it's really hurt them. The Rockets have beaten them. The Jazz have beaten them. The Portland Trailblazers have beaten them, and it's been in terrible fashion, and it has been. So I think
it's a new team, though. It's a new team.
Exactly, and it's a new team, and everyone thought, again, Thunder's expectations were really low. People were saying they were going to be a lottery team, and
exactly,
I thought they were going to be a lottery team, man. To be honest with you, just because you lose all those players, and for Chris Paul, again, such a great story. The guy was pretty much traded over there, and they sent him to They sent him to die pretty much there, to be honest with you, just because of the fact that this was supposed to be a lottery team. And Billy Donovan deserves the props. He's turned this team around to the point where, they're winning, and without, a Russell Westbrook, without a Kevin Durant, without, Paul George anymore. And for me, I think the most fitting thing storyline-wise is for Chris Paul to, he balled. He's taking advantage of the situation. He's balled. He's been that veteran leader for those young guys. But for him to be able to go out there and send his former team home in the first round, and for the Oklahoma City Thunder to finally advance out of the first round without Russell Westbrook, everybody who was a problem, would be fitting for me. That would be a great story. And I don't like to play off stories. I like to be real. But and I do believe that Oklahoma City has a great chance versus this team. But for Russ as well, if he's able to muscle his way and be able to play, because I guarantee you one thing, Russ doesn't want to miss a lot of this series. He wants to play this series.
Yeah, he wants knowing Russell Westbrook for as long as, watching him for as long as, I thought, honestly, when the report first came out, I thought, if I know Russ, he's going to want to play game one. He's going to just want to do it. But obviously the doctor told him not to, which is unfortunate. But yeah, he's gonna try and claw his way back.
Exactly, because of the mentality he has. I mean, he wants to be a part of sending his former team home yet again. So who gets revenge is the biggest thing for me here. It'd be fitting for Chris Paul to send that team home.
Yeah, and with the Rockets, obviously, it's rough not having Russell Westbrook. I mean, he is basically their center on the offensive end. I mean, PJ Tucker is their defensive center, but Russell Westbrook, being their leading rebounder, being the guy to attack the rim at all times, is their center on the offensive, their so-called center at the offensive end. Yeah, and it's a huge loss because we've seen what James Harden has done in the playoffs by himself, and it hasn't been pretty. It has not been pretty.
No.
And he's gonna have some rough times. I mean, I think he's going to have some big games, and I think that he realizes that the window is closing slowly but surely on this Rockets team. I mean, he's getting older, Russ is getting older, and there's just so many questions around this team. And I have a feeling he's going to want to play, to his full capabilities, and I think he's going to have a great series. But like you said, the OKC Thunder team has been a huge surprise. They just look like a well-oiled machine. And what I like about Chris Paul being the leader, and I think this is where the type of role he excels. He needs to be the number one guy, and it doesn't mean the number one guy being in scoring, but he needs to run this offense, and that's what a lot of his struggle was in Houston, because he had to split reps, him then James Harden, and they just keep taking turns over and over again.
And built a lot of animosity there. As much as people want to deny that, there's leaks going on, man. And why are these leaks getting out? So there's I understand what you mean. There was just a lot of tension there, and you can see it.
Yeah. It was ugly. Just watching the Rockets the last few years has just been ugly in general. And put them on this team where they love to move the ball, where they have multiple guys that can give you over 15 points a night, and just a good all around roster. Chris Paul is excelling, and it's I think honestly this has been the best one of his best seasons since his Clipper days. I think this is this is better than any of his other Rocket seasons. And although it's with less stats, I just think he just looks like works better as the leader of a team, and he's shown this year. I mean, he's built up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He's made Dennis Schroeder's life a lot easier and stuff like that. So, and I think without Russell Westbrook, it's going to be an absolutely just tough series for the Rockets, who already struggle on the defensive end because they have no answer for Steven Adams on the inside, even Mike Muscala and stuff like that. These guys are just too big for them. And without Russell Westbrook being able to help run your offense, it's going to be absolutely tough.
Definitely.
And yeah, I just want your thoughts on this, just in case with the Houston Rockets, as I talked about, the window's closing. After this season, do you think this is their last chance to actually make a push towards a championship, or do you think they can be able after this?
I give them another season.
Give them another season.
I give them another season just because again the world right now that we live in is just so different. Right now that again in this injury with Russ, I feel like regardless of what expectation is, without this Russ injury. I mean, no coulda, woulda, shoulda in sports. It happens. But I feel like a lot of people be viewing this series in a very different way if Russ wasn't hurt. But I give this team about a 1 to maybe just a 2-year window at the most for this basketball team. Because I know obviously Russ is still gonna, as long as you have Russ and Harden there, they can change it. They can try to move off pieces around them. But as long as you keep those two core players in, I still feel like their window is still open for at least a couple of years.
Yeah. Like I said, this has been a tough, this whole time, this whole bubble has been tough for a lot of teams.
Exactly.
100%. And I mean, maybe they have one more year left in them, 2 years max. But I mean, it's unfortunate because we want to see how this small ball lineup is gonna work out. They're trying to get all in on this, and we just want to see. Maybe it'll work. Maybe especially in playoff basketball, that's what we've been waiting for. And now with Russ, we're not going to be able to see how it works to its full extent. And I think that's just an unfortunate thing for the Rockets there. And with the Thunder being as good as they have been, being as healthy as they are right now, I just think it's going to be a tough ask for James Harden, especially if he is basically doing this alone. And sure, he has Eric Gordon, but there's just he's just coming off of injury. It's going to be tough for him as well. So it's gonna be a tough series for the Rockets. And and like I said, the Thunder being as good as they are, they're going to be a very tough team to eliminate in these playoffs. Yeah. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. I'm just it's a very interesting matchup for me. At least.
Yeah, it's the most exciting matchup for me as well. Just going into this first round, and I cannot wait to watch it. But yeah, I think this is where we're going to end today's episode. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to please like, share, and subscribe on this channel if you're watching this. And if you're on Apple Podcasts and any of the podcast networks, just show your support over there. Thank you, Joe, for coming on. It was great having you on.
Hey, thanks for having me, TV. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have him back, especially when we're going to talk about more playoff basketball, when the things start getting going, we're going to start talking about the games and all that. We'll definitely have him back for that. And anything to say about your channel before we head out?
Just go ahead and follow us, Critical Condition Sports, on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I appreciate the support. We're going to have a video with our playoff predictions coming out later today. Thanks for the support.
Yeah, so just check that out. All his links are going to be in the description of this video and also in my link tree on my Instagram. So please check him out. He has great NBA content, which he's been doing recently, but he also has awesome NFL content where that is his main world. I mean, I brought him in over for the NBA sort of stuff today, but his main world is the NFL. And with the NFL season coming next month, I mean, I know this guy is super excited for it coming back. Yeah, so if you want to see some great NFL content, check out his channel and all that good stuff. And so yeah, all his links are in my bio. But I think this is where we're going to end it here. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for taking time out of your day just to listen to this / watch it. And yeah, I'll see you guys on tomorrow when I do a recap of Monday's games, and the next podcast will be coming out on Friday. So have a nice day, y'all. Take it easy. Peace.